Hey book readers, it's Throwback Thursday, so put your best poodle skirt on, play an Elvis tune on the jukebox, and get ready to duck and cover as I chat about my 7 favorite books published in the 1950s. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from 1950. Narnia, Aslan, The White Witch, and a prophecy involving British children. C.S. Lewis's fantasy classic has held up for more than 70 years. This is one that I've read numerous times and have finally gotten the chance to start sharing it with my kids. Surprisingly, the scariest part of this novel for my kids, at least in their minds, wasn't The White Witch, which was what I was expecting it to be, but how it was always winter in Narnia and never Christmas. The horror! The Martian Chronicles, also from 1950. I'm a big Ray Bradbury fan, and this connection of somewhat connected sci-fi short stories is all revolving around the colonization of Mars. Some of the stories are poignant, some are funny, some are downright disturbing, but they're all must-reads for science fiction junkies. However, some of the material seems dated. It's like binging Twilight Zone episodes now. The questions posed and themes explored are still relevant, but many of the speculative details and technology are outdated. Fahrenheit 451 from 1953. Another sci-fi classic by Ray Bradbury, my boy. This one takes place in a dystopian future where the job of a fireman is to burn books. The main character in this novel, who is a fireman, begins to question his job description and the dangers that books actually pose. He starts contemplating the value of thought-provoking books versus mindless TV. It's a book that speaks to the heart of book lovers like me and probably you. So it's no wonder that I enjoy how it asks about the value of reading and this almost undefinable power that books have over us. Lord of the Flies from 1954. I've talked about this classic a few times before. It's one of the first books I ever binged, and it features a group of young boys trying to survive on an island long enough to get rescued. I once romanticized the fun of being a castaway like many of the little kids in this book do, but more than anything, a recent reread left me frustrated with the human condition Golding shows in this novel. I seriously wanted these British boys to band together and figure out what's actually important in a survival situation. But, spoiler alert, I'm disappointed every time when they don't get their act together. Still, it's a short and sweet read that should be on everybody's literary bucket list. The Broken Sword from 1954. Last month was the first time I read this quick, high fantasy classic, and I really enjoyed it. Quick question that I don't have the answer to, but someone smarter than me probably does. Have we supersized the length of books over time? All the ones on this list are under or barely over 200 pages, with the longest checking in around 258, I think. Was there a McMansioning in the book world that I just wasn't aware of until now? Maybe this is old man syndrome talking, but it seems like books nowadays are longer in general than they used to be. Anyway, back to The Broken Sword. The writing is so good. It has this interesting juxtaposition of beautiful poems sprinkled throughout, but they're right alongside gruesome killings. Quite the interesting yin and yang. But the prose doesn't feel dated. It's like Anderson created a fresh, modern epic inspired by Beowulf. The story features a magical baby swap, some sensational battles between elves and trolls, and a fair amount of incest. Eat your heart out, Game of Thrones. The Star is My Destination from 1956. Here's a sci-fi classic set in a future where people jaunt, which is teleporting by simply thinking about where you want to go. Cool concept, and it begs the question, why have we not figured out teleportation yet? Come on, scientists! The main character, Gullyfoyle, is a working class guy who could have seemingly been saved from a disaster in space by the ship Vorga, but was left for dead instead. After miraculously surviving, he vows to know why he was stranded in space and then punish those who were responsible. It has big-time Count of Monte Cristo vibes, with 2 parts especially fitting that bill. First, an awful imprisonment in a pitch-black prison a la Chateau d'If, and second, Gully transforms himself from a low-born with little knowledge and skills into a man who looks and speaks like an upper-class gentleman. And it's all in the name of revenge. The writing in this one still seems fresh, making Gully's relentless drive for vengeance, no matter the difficulties he faces, feel at once hopeless and inevitable. Non-Stop from 1958. Roy Complain is a hunter and member of the Green Tribe who lives in a claustrophobic world where quick-growing vegetation seems to crowd out his people at every turn. I don't want to give too much away, but the gist is that Roy goes exploring with a couple of other people, seeking to uncover the truth of his world. The concepts and questions that this book poses overcome its shallow, not fully formed characters and lack of emotional pull. In other words, read it for the science fiction, mystery, and action. It's well worth reading if you want a sci-fi book you'll zip through and come away satisfied with the little ways it manages to surprise you. There you have it, 7 books from the 1950s that really razzed my berries. Remember to like, subscribe, and support your local soda fountain. Happy reading.